You're listening to Portal's podcast, an extension of the Emergence Creative Space. Listeners are transported into the hearts and minds of some of the most inspired creators, producers, artists, and activists around. Portals is a platform and a spotlight on people, organizations, businesses, and more who are the unsung heroes making a huge impact on the lives of others. My name is Scott Love, and I will be your host on this journey into the powerful world of intention and conscious creation. I am an activist, an entrepreneur, and a visionary. Over the years, I've made some incredible relationships with a lot of truly epic people. Many have helped inspire me and have guided me on my journey. I believe they'll help you as well. Here's what's up. We are a people in transition. The choices we make now will affect lives for generations to come. Our choices will be our legacy. I want Portal's podcast to be a go-to resource for those who are searching for solutions and to help us move us all forward. Thanks for being here. All right, let's get inspired. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thank you for being here. This is Portal's podcast, an extension of the Emergence Creative Space, and my name is Scott Love. I am the founder of Emergence Creative Space, and I'm also, I put parties together for people, such as the 3 Days of Light Gathering. You know, we are in a weird space right now. 2020 is like the Hydra. Just more and more heads coming. You know, you think you got one understood this COVID thing, and then you got these uprisings, and then you got this now explosions, and my goodness, it's crazy. You know, and it's really easy to get sensitive and to feel fragile. You know, we have these triggers now that we probably never thought we had before. You know, thank God we have inspiring people we can look to. And maybe those inspiring people are around us. Maybe they're our family. Maybe they're our friends. Maybe they're 1,000 miles away or on the other side of the world. Maybe we don't even know them personally. We just hear a story about something that they did, some act of kindness, some way that they went out of their way to inspire or to help someone else. You know, we can find inspiration in a million different places. You know, it's really cool because we're finding out how resilient we are and how patient and compassionate we can be. You know, we're finding out that we're creative in all these amazing ways that just a few months ago we had no idea. Some people are taking up painting for the first time. Some people are getting into yoga for the first time. People are writing down stories that they've been thinking about for years. It's really exciting. I cannot wait to see the art that we get to share with each other when we're on the flip side of this. It's amazing. We're still here. You know, you're listening to this. You know, the world around us is filled with the descendants of survivors. We are survivors. It's in our blood. Going all the way back to that single cell amoeba that didn't die up to now. There's this line of survivors. We're just the most recent ones. And we're all dreaming, and we're all hoping, and we're all alive. And we're trying to be better than we were yesterday, which was already a little difficult before the pandemic. Now we have social uprisings, insane political elections, and just to say hello to our friends on social media, we have to swim through like 1 billion conspiracy theories. You know, hopefully we don't get into an argument, because then our day's blown. We have this stupid thread that we have to comment on every 5 minutes. Our phone goes ding, and we're like, what is that? Okay, maybe it's not that insane, but sometimes it feels like it. So, the good news is there is a flip side, and there are amazing, inspiring people around us and in our lives. Today, I had the opportunity to experience it on a phone call. And I know I sound a little tired right now. It's because I am tired. It's because I just spent hours editing through our 3-hour-long conversation because I wanted it to be perfect. And I don't know if it came out to be perfect, but it definitely does a great job of sharing this amazing, vibrant being with you. So here you go. She's the founder of Spiral Root Sanctuary. She's a professional touring vocalist. She's an herbalist. And check this out. She's the traveling tea lounge host extraordinaire. She travels with the Spiral Root Sanctuary and creates these amazing holistic tea lounges at festivals and just so much fun. All right, and with without any further ado, Ashé Summers.
Thank you for calling, everyone. See, that's what's really good about thank you for calling. Where's that coming from? Where did I even thank you for calling? Where's that relate anywhere in my life? Oh, I don't know. Maybe recording a voice message. Right? What the hell's going on?
Thank you for calling Scott Love. You've reached my voicemail.
Right,
Please
right.
leave a message.
All right. Oh, I know what I'm missing. I had it set right here. Here we go. I'm lighting some Palo Santo to call in clarity and communication and openness, inspiration, love, God, goddess, and all that other good stuff. Right here it is. Right? Here it is, right here. Right there.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so tell me about how you got into herbalism and how this path started.
You know, when I moved to Asheville, I was so inspired by all of the people and how connected to the earth they were. Everyone I met seemed to have some cool thing they were doing, oh, I'm a massage therapist.
Yeah,
or
I remember that.
And it was so inspiring to me and so amazing. And I guess along the way, I just met some people who they could walk through the forest and tell me what everything was. They could tell me this is edible, or you can use this for a bee sting, or this is for if you have a fever. And it just drew me in. It just really drew me in to a point that I wanted to know more. And so I was told about this woman who was teaching energetic and esoteric herbalism in Black Mountain, and I studied under her for a little while. And then I found the Appalachian School of Holistic Herbalism, which is right in West Asheville, and just kind of continued my studies from there.
I've always been attracted to that place. What was it like going to school there?
It was awesome. I mean, half of class was deep in the forest. We would meet in the classroom, and there were always different teachers every time. So it was always really interesting. You would hear different people's perspectives. And I got to connect with people who were on the same page as me. All of the people taking the classes became my friends, and it was really inspiring.
That's really cool. Really cool. And I like the idea of there being like rotating teachers, like you mentioned, because you get to see different perspectives. You get to hear different philosophies. How long was the program you're in?
That program was only 6 months long. I wish it was longer. And then I went on to take a flower essence class there, which was another 6 months. And then from there, I just continued my studies and just bought all the books and just started talking to other herbalists in town and just working the magic kind of just in my own kitchen and in the forest.
That's beautiful. There's something so compelling to me about, and I know I'm not the only one, about natural remedies. And I'm going to rephrase that because I sound like there's something so cool about natural remedies. All right. I've always been really interested in holistic healing and natural remedies. When I was a little kid, this is my first introduction to holistic healing. Ready for this? Mm-hmm. When I was a little kid, probably about 7 or 8, I was a spaz, man. I was a spaz up until about 21. 41. But anyhow, I was a little kid and I was on Ritalin. No, I was on this medication called Silert, which was the precursor for Ritalin. And then they switched me to Ritalin, and then they tried to up my dosage. And my mom started getting leery about it. And so she had a conversation with the doctor, like a regular doctor. And this is pretty sweet. I don't know if he would give the same advice today, but the doctor said, I'm going to tell you something, Ida. Ida was my mom's name. If he gets to the point where you think he needs medication, give him half a cup of coffee. And so my mom did. And every morning before school, I would have half a cup of coffee. And I wouldn't say it did the exact same things as shoving a bunch of meth down my throat would have, but it was a healthy alternative, right?
Yeah.
And I do remember it helped me quite a bit. But I don't remember much about 7 years old. I just remember when I would take the medication, I remember feeling that something is wrong with me and this is fixing me, which I felt fucked up. And that was something that lingered with me for a long time. So, the psychological effects of Western medicine, we always talk about addiction and we always talk about big pharma But as the person taking the pills, it always feels like something is wrong with me and I need to fix myself. And so that was my introduction to natural healing. I didn't know it was natural healing then, but looking back, I see that it actually was a natural alternative to a really messed up chemical. Oh my goodness, what a weird world we're in right now, huh?
Definitely. Yeah.
You doing all right with all this?
What are you doing to keep yourself busy?
Yeah, I feel like my life has been just full throttle this season with keeping up with the garden and with focusing on my business, growing plants, growing herbs for my business. I feel like I have not had a lack of time this whole
Nice.
this whole quarantine period. Yeah.
Now, did you start quarantine? Like, when did you start your quarantine? Like, for me, I started it on March 13th. Day 45 said that there's a national emergency. And so I live with somebody who has MS. So I took that as a sign for me to just stop working. I'm glad I did. Did you start right around then too, or when did you start your quarantine?
Yeah, it was definitely sometime in March. I wish I could remember exact dates, but time is so weird.
Right.
Yeah, it was in March though. North Carolina declared it sometime around that time. Yeah.
Have there been a lot of changes with your business or with the way you have to do things?
There's definitely been big changes for myself and for my business during this time period. Normally in the summertime, I'm at festivals and events all summer long, all spring through autumn, really,
Right.
and vending our tea lounge that we do. We set up a tea lounge and we serve hand roasted coffee and herbal teas that I blend myself and vend. With that has come a loss of a lot of our income that we
Right.
rely on for the wintertime. So that's been a huge thing I've had to figure out, as well as the shops my products are for sale in were closed for a really long time.
Have you done anything to adjust to try and, accommodate that loss?
I have. I finally launched our own domain name, spiralrootsanctuary.com, which I'm really excited about. It was a long time coming,
Nice.
to say the least.
Yeah, I checked it out. That site looks clean. It looks sharp. And one of the first things that jumped at me is you see I have this vape. I've had to struggle with nicotine and tobacco. And so when I was checking out your website and I saw that you have tobacco-less smoke products, what do you call them?
Herbal smoking blends.
Herbal smoking blend. So I'm going to order a couple of those tonight when we get off. I know that I've had some herbal blends before. What goes in those smoking blends?
Oh man. Well, I have 2 different flavors and mostly a lot of lung nourishing herbs, actually, such as mullein and red raspberry, coltsfoot leaf. And then there's different things in both blends, but one of them is more a lavender flavor profile and the other one is more a mint and rose flavor profile. So on both levels, both of them are really relaxing. They're both good for the nervous system. They're not going to like clonk you out and make you pass out, but they're definitely both relaxing herbs.
Very good. Very good. You said that was rose and mint together?
Yeah.
Dude, that sounds yummy. What's the price on those?
I've got tins that are $6 and I've got bags that are $8.
Nice. That's not bad at all. That's like cheaper than tobacco.
Yeah, actually, I have a lot of people who have been using it for quitting smoking, and so they want a huge amount.
Right.
And so I've actually started selling pounds of it as well. So you can also order pounds of it on my website.
Very good. And then I saw the burning bundles, and any of the listeners who are into herbal remedies or self-care products that come from a holistic, conscious place, please check out spiralrootsanctuary.com. That's amazing. So I've heard, and I'm not sure how accurate this is, that there is a whole species or subspecies in Appalachia for every person living in Appalachia, all the way from New England and Pennsylvania, going all the way down to where does Appalachia end? Does it end in Georgia?
Yeah, the Appalachian Trail ends in Georgia, in North Georgia. So what do you mean? What do you mean by subspecies? What are you talking about?
So like for every single person that's living in those mountains, that whole mountain range, for every single individual person, there is a whole species of flora or fauna in those mountains. So there's like a kind of fern for me, not for me, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for you, there's a butterfly or whatever.
Yeah. Right. I'm not surprised at all about that. I was told in herbalism school that Appalachia has 95% of, I think it's just North America's herbal medicinal plants.
Wow.
Yeah.
It just blows my mind. Well, I mean, when I stop to think about it, it doesn't really blow my mind. What it does is it just reminds me. That's what it is. When I say blows my mind, maybe that's where that connection comes from. It blows my mind and then gets me into my heart, because it's reminding me of the connection. We are earthlings. Everything we are comes from the earth. Our calcium in our bones, the iron in our blood, the amino acids and vitamins and everything we are. We're earthlings. We're like an extension of the earth, so it's fascinating how there's an herb for every ailment that we have.
Yeah.
As long as I've known you, which, by the way, a little bit of background, we've known each other for probably about 6 years. We met in Asheville, and when I was producing a festival there, 3 Days of Light Gathering. Were you at the first one, or was it the second one? The one that
it was the second.
All right, and you were performing.
Mm-hmm.
And did you have the vision or the idea for what you're doing now?
I was in herbalism school, but I had no idea I was going to start a business. Actually, 3 Days of Light was one of the first music festivals I ever played at as a musician.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, 3D. It still is. I'm excited about the next vision of it, the next level. We had something really special planned for this year. I'm kind of bummed out that I'm very bummed out that COVID happened, and that's how it affected me, personally. I was working a full-time job as a cook. I had just gotten a raise, my second raise in just a couple months. And I was right a mile from my house, so I can get back and forth. I was working on 3 Days of Light Gathering with a group of people. In fact, you and I were talking about it. You were going to bring Spiral Roots to 3DL this year.
We were, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to just set up this really badass tea lounge, and we're going to hook it up and turn it into something just epic, which you always do. You always bring something epic.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We had to change that. And one of the ways that I've adjusted is I just switched my focus to 100% working on the 3 Days of Light virtual, which is the first time I'm bringing that up. And we're trying to figure out a really awesome way to bring that forward.
Really? Well, that sounds awesome, and I'm excited about hearing more about that.
I will definitely make sure that you know what we're doing when it happens. I'll let you know well before it happens.
So we're trying to figure out what's going to make it sweet. A lot of these virtual festivals is just basically a person in their bedroom playing, and then a person in their bedroom playing, or a person in a park playing, which is fine, but there's nothing really compelling. So we're working on how we can make it compelling and interactive for the person that's watching.
Yeah.
And we have several ideas. I'm working with this guy, Caleb Grayson, who's out of Pennsylvania, and he's an audio visual engineer. Mm-hmm. And he also has done some streaming for churches and conferences and stuff like that. So we're going to work out something sweet. And I think, I know I'm going to move the date from October 1st. I may do something on October 1st, but we're probably going to do New Year's Eve.
Right.
All right. So let's switch back to talking about you. How long do you think modern medicine has been running? Maybe 150, 200 years?
No,
maybe before that, maybe 600 or 700. Actually, now that I think about it, going all the way back to the Greeks and the Romans and the Phoenicians.
Yeah.
But do you think there wasn't a pharmaceutical industry then? Was there?
I doubt it. I highly doubt it.
Right.
And even so, those doctors back then were probably still using herbal remedies.
Right. That's the point. That's the point. Is that when did we switch from herbal remedies to pharmaceuticals? When did that switch happen? That'd be so interesting to know.
It's actually interesting. I was just talking to someone about this, and I was more so listening into a conversation because I was sitting 6 feet apart from them. But they were talking about this exact thing you were just asking. And oh goodness, I hope I can remember exactly what they said in a way that's reasonable for sharing. She was talking about how there was some point where these allopathic doctors came in. There was some article that came out about how all these herbal remedies are actually not good for you and how they can harm you. And, maybe that was true for a few of them, but this whole list came out of all these things that people had originally been using for remedies. And when this came out is really when allopathic medicine took front and center and pushed herbal medicine away and said, no, like, you're just a quack. You don't know what you're talking about.
And a great example of not knowing what to trust, whether it's holistic medicine or Western medicine, this whole hydrochloroquine thing. It is a trip. You have a whole slew of doctors saying it's the best thing since sliced bread, and these other ones saying, no, it's not tested, it can mess you up. So I don't know where to stand on that whatsoever. But what I did today find out is something really interesting, and that's how easy it is to make quinine. And that's, I guess, the active ingredient in hydrochloroquine. And it's supposed to have a number of other health benefits. Now, the flip side of that is, you don't just take it blindly, because it can, if you had a bad liver, it can mess you up. If you have a heart condition, it can mess you up. So this is in no way saying that anybody should take it. I'm just saying how easy it is to make it, talking about natural holistic healing. Okay, here it is. You ready? You just take 3 grapefruit peels and you fill them up about 3 inches above that with water, and then you just boil it, and then you simmer it all the way down until it's like this syrupy thing, and poof, you have grapefruit created quinine. Wow. Now, like I said, I don't know if it's good for you. But I'm sure there's some medicinal properties there.
Yeah, well, I'd say eating a grapefruit a day wouldn't hurt anyways.
Oh, I love grapefruits. I love grapefruit. When I was a little kid, I moved around a lot. 22 different schools by the time I was a junior. My mom was a bit of a gypsy. And so we lived in Florida for a while. And I remember walking to the school bus down this alley and there being this grapefruit tree that hung over the fence. And I would take grapefruits every day and I'd just peel it on my way to school. It was cool. Hopefully the man who owned it didn't get mad, but it was a pretty big tree, man. There's oranges and grapefruits everywhere.
Yeah, they're high producers too. So, something you were talking about really just struck me about my feelings, and kind of, you were asking me how I got into herbalism and natural healing, and what you were saying is so true. How, in my herbal school, my teacher always said, there is a place for Western medicine. If you broke your leg and you need to reset it, you need a doctor. You can't just take some herbs and hope that your bones grow back. However, there are so many plants and things that we could be taking instead of taking these pharmaceuticals that are owned by big corporations who may or may not have our best interest. I feel so strongly about that. And the fact that I can walk into my yard and find things that could help me if I have ailments such as a cold or a fever or have a headache or even depression or anxiety. I can find those things in the forest and in my yard. And that is so inspiring to me and reminds me every day how much the earth really provides for us.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's so cool. Now,
and what really blew my mind, you were asking me what really got me into herbalism, and it took me a minute to think about that. But really what got me into it was when I took an energetic and esoteric herbalism class. In that class is when we would go into the forest as our classroom, and our teacher would say, all right, go out into the woods and find a plant that you don't recognize and sit with it and meditate with it for 20 minutes and then write down what you experienced. And through this, we gained relationships with these plants in realizing that every single plant is alive. They are living beings, and with it, they have spirit. And that really opened my mind up so much to plant spirit medicine and how every single plant has not only a medicine, but a personality related to it.
Nice.
And they're friends and allies.
Have you heard I don't know exactly what the experiment was called, and I believe it's from The Life of Plants. Do you remember a book called The Life of Plants?
The Secret Life of Plants, I think is what it's called.
Maybe, yeah. Mm-hmm. The Secret Life of Plants, where they experimented with these two plants that they grew next to each other, and then they separated them, and they did, I'm not sure what kind of ratings they did, electrocardio or just some type of energy reading, that when they clipped this plant, the other plant felt it.
I've heard of that.
That's like, wow, what? Empathy. That's a perfect example of empathy. Energetic empathy. It's beautiful. And let's translate that into humanity. Our kind of empathy, the kind of empathy that, like, we are conditioned to compartmentalize. We are conditioned to compartmentalize our feelings and to distract ourselves from our intuition. It's a very cerebral experience being a human being right now.
Yeah.
Because if we tap into our hearts, not all of us, but a lot of people, I do sometimes, when I tap into my heart, I feel like anguish and pain for everybody. People that are living in fear, not everybody, because, but the hurt that people are feeling when their loved ones are dying, or the fear that they're feeling because of all the media that they're getting. I really wish I could just find a way to appease that, which is what inspired these conversations. What are you doing on a daily basis to process the world right now?
Yeah, for me, it always goes back to plants. It goes back to what we were just talking about, how the world is so confusing right now and no one really knows what's happening. And so many people are suffering and feeling like I have friends and allies that aren't human that can help me, taking my milky oats for anxiety, taking skull cap to help me sleep at night. And they've become my friends. I find myself just out in my garden, harvesting plants, singing to them, and just being with them has brought me so much peace. Being in my garden and getting my hands in the dirt has been the number one thing keeping me sane right now.
Just listening to you say it the way you just said it brought me ease. Feeling your passion and your love and your connection to your garden and these plants. I'm going to share with you really quick. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 things growing right now. And this is my first time really planting anything. Other than back in December, like I mentioned, in December I planted some weed plants, some marijuana plants, and those were beautiful. And honestly, maybe it's because I just loved them so much, but it was like, and because I loved them, they provided for me. But it was like literally some of the best marijuana buzz I've ever had.
Because you put your energy into it, because you put your heart into it,
Yeah, and thank you. Yes, and because I got sick a couple times. I didn't know what I was doing. YouTube videos. So here's what's up. I remember my mom showing me how to sprout weed plants when I was little, right? Or watching her do it. And with the paper towel and sticking it in a plastic bag and putting it under the sink, and then they sprout. And so I did that with 4 seeds. Oh no, I did that with 6 seeds. 4 of them sprouted. 2 of those 4 survived past 2 weeks, but those 2 kept growing and growing and growing until they stopped growing. And I realized I didn't have a good enough light. So I went and I invested and I got the light, and then it was growing and growing and growing. Then they stopped growing. And then I realized, oh, they're root bound. So then I put them in a different plant, and then they started growing and growing and growing. And then that moment of truth came where you look and you say, okay, are those seeds or are those little hairs growing out of there? And
Right.
we're blessed. Both of them were females. So I was like, yay. And then they started budding, and it was like such a beautiful moment.
The fact that you could do that with your mom is like so cool.
Right?
That's rare. That's real cool.
Right. Well, my mom was a trip. My mom was really cool. But so then when these plants grow and you smoke them, it felt like it was a part of me. It was a beautiful thing. Right now, I have a plant growing that is a clone of one of the plants that I grew before. I cloned it. I think there was like 8 clones and only 1 survived, but this one is growing like beautiful. So I'm really excited. I have spaghetti squash growing outside, and this thing is just blowing up. I cut a spaghetti squash in half, and about a dozen of the seeds were already sprouting.
Wow.
So inside this thing.
Yeah.
So I took some of those and I put them just like I did. I don't know if this is good or bad, but I did. They're already sprouting. I probably shouldn't have, but I put them in a plastic bag. I put them under the sink, and I just wanted to experiment with that. But I also took some of them and I put them right in the earth.
Yeah.
And the ones that right in the earth just exploded. They're like huge. And this is just like a month ago. And these things are, they're viney. So their vine shoots are growing up along the side of the porch. And I'm just excited to see what happens with them. I also have some, what is it? Thyme. I have thyme growing.
Mm-hmm.
We have some lavender growing. And I think I have some peppers growing. I have to see if they're still growing or not. They might have gone bye-bye because we've gotten a lot of water lately. So,
Yeah, it's a process, trying to figure out how to work with nature instead of against her feels so important. And yeah, sometimes it rains too much, or sometimes you get bugs, and you have to
right.
learn how to work with that.
Well, as I'm getting older, I'm realizing that there is a recipe or a set of instructions for everything. They say that there is no, at least something that they used to say when I was growing up was there is no book on how to live. But now I think there is, and I think it's called the internet.
That's probable. At least some guidance, maybe not completely tell you how to do it, but like there's guidance and there's ways to learn, which is really cool.
The more information we have, the more understanding we have, and the more understanding we have, the more knowledge we have. So it's a balance. It's a balance between the knowledge and the intuition. So I think one of the things that is unfortunate is how far we've moved as a society, as a community, away from the intuitive nature and getting into the left brain, the technical, the linear, man. And what's just really cool about what you're doing with the herbalism and the getting out there and connecting with people at festivals is that you are keeping that intuitive medicine, that earth medicine, that feminine medicine in the hearts, and you're bringing awareness to it. And it's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. I feel like we need balance in all things. And, the feminine energy of the world has really been shoved to the side. And know the medicinal properties of plants and sing to them and ask for their permission when you want to pick them, because they're living beings too. And they want respect.
That's cool. I have recently started taking vitamin D along with multivitamins, and I'm going to look online. My diet has changed considerably over the last couple months, where I'm doing much more fresh vegetables. I'm doing smoothies every day. You mentioned in our correspondence that you are doing intermittent fasting.
I am.
How's that working?
Great so far. I'm only on day 5. So, but I'm already, some health issues that I was dealing with are already clearing up, which is amazing in 5 days. And
for those that aren't familiar with intermittent fasting, do you want to explain to the listener what you're doing?
Yeah. So from the research I've been doing, because I'm still new to this, I'm still learning. Intermittent fasting is more a way of life. It's more a lifestyle choice than a diet. So there's different ways you can do it, but the way I'm doing it is I will eat within an 8-hour window, and I'll eat my normal meals, whatever I would normally eat. And I eat fairly healthy and organic already. And some people just eat whatever they would normally eat, which is whatever they normally eat. So you fast for 16 hours and eat for 8 hours. So my eating window is from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. And during that time, maybe I'll eat 3 meals, maybe I'll eat 2. But the point of it is that when your digestive system has a break, it allows your body to heal, because digestion takes a lot of energy. So when you're not digesting all the time, your body is able to focus on other parts that need work and need assistance.
That makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. I've experimented with some intermittent fasting over the last couple of months. I mentioned a minute ago that my diet has changed. My window was from noon to 8. Although I've been breaking it, I've had a lack of discipline for this last week where I'm making some snacks. And the snacks I'm eating, it'd be cool if it was like a bowl of carrots or some celery or something, but it's really been, maybe it wouldn't even be cool, but it's been like chips and salsa and a lot of salted roasted nuts.
Yeah. And honestly, that's why I started doing this, is because I was snacking way too much. It's so easy right now, right? We're all like stuck at home, and there's not, there's
Right.
not much keeping us as busy or as distracted. And it's easy to just go for those chips or go for the crackers. So this was kind of my way of reminding my body, to help it know how much food it really needs. And what I love about it is I can drink tea whenever I want, because black coffee, herbal tea, and water are available to you even during the fasting period. So, yeah.
There's a lot of people sitting at home listening to this right now that are going through processes, depression, anxiety. Are there any herbal natural remedies that you could suggest to somebody to help get through these times?
Plenty. And I'll start off by saying, if there's anybody going through these issues, please contact a medical professional. However, there are many herbs that people can use to help with stress and anxiety. Some of the ones that I really love for myself personally are milky oats, passion flower, chamomile, which you can find chamomile like at any grocery store nowadays, which is fantastic. Right. Lavender is so sweet and gentle. Lemon balm, kava, if people like kava. Some people do, some don't. Let's see, I'm in my apothecary right now, so I'm like looking, look around and see. Oh, what else? The first one that really comes to mind are milky oats.
I want to know what's up with milky oats.
Right, milky oats are awesome, which are so wonderful as a nervous system support. They're one of my go-tos when I'm feeling anxiety and my nervous system is feeling totally out of whack and I feel kind of adrenal fatigue. Milky oats is my number one.
Nice.
So there's also chamomile, which is so fantastic because you can find it pretty much anywhere nowadays. You can like go to any grocery store and get chamomile tea.
Right.
And chamomile is so wonderful for just relaxation. It's really gentle. I really love it because you can give it to children and the elderly, as long as, they're not, some people are allergic to chamomile, so you do have to be careful. Most people can take it. Another one that I love is lavender, which is so good for helping you sleep. I'm sure most people nowadays have heard about like lavender before bedtime, and it's true. It's so nice and gentle for the nervous system as well. There's also lemon balm, which on top of being really good, just relaxing, it's also an antiviral. So that's a really fantastic herb.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I like saying? I like saying balm. I just like saying balm, like it's a balm, I don't know why. I always have like lemon balm. That's
like when I was in herbalism school and we were learning how to make salves. And I say salve, but some people just say salve, but it's spelled SALVE.
Right, yeah.
I was like, what?
Nice. Salve. Got some of that salve? What?
Salve.
Right. Very good. You know what? You mentioned lavender. I love lavender. I think everybody loves lavender.
Right.
I mean, you can put it in. Just 2 days ago, I had to go out and buy a new mattress top for my mattress because my bed's been hurting my back. And I went and I bought a 3-inch piece of foam. That was great. But the night before that, my back was a little sore, which is what inspired me going to the store. And I used essential oils. I put some lavender in my bath mineral salt.
Yeah.
And I shook it up and I put it in there. I do that kind of stuff all the time. What are some different ways that people can use these herbal medicines you're talking about right now?
Totally. I'm always an advocate for tea. I love tea. I love herbal tea so much. And, some people might not have the ability to grow and harvest these things themselves. And so, you can always get it loose leaf and put it in a tea ball, or you can find tea bags. Those are both options. Other ways would be taking tinctures, which is how you ingest milky oats specifically. Because milky oats, it's the oat plant. It's so special, right? So it's actually like where you get oatmeal. So who'd have thunk, right? That the oatmeal plant is so special. But when the oats, they form this thing called latex, which is pretty much nothing like the latex, like medical latex or whatever. It's just this milky substance that comes out of the oats when they're forming. And that is what you tincture and turn into milky oats. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So it's like what's that called? The juice that comes out of it?
It's called the latex.
Latex. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Which is why you called it latex.
That'd be what?
Awesome.
Yeah.
So how do you make a tincture? Do you I recently had been introduced to tincture making when I'm in Michigan, so everything I'm about to say is completely legal. I grew and harvested 2 beautiful marijuana plants, and I turned them into tincture. And what I did is, I roasted it for a little bit in the oven, and then I ground it up, and then I put it in Everclear alcohol. And so that's an alcohol extract, and I let it sit. It's still soaking it now. That was a couple months ago. Is it, when you say a tincture, is it that same process or is it a different one?
So with cannabis, you have to decarboxylate it,
right,
to release the healing properties of it, essentially, which decarboxylate, for anyone who doesn't know, is heating it. With other herbs, you don't have to do that. So I don't heat my herbs when I create a tincture. I just simply pretty much put them in a jar and add alcohol. There is some math involved. It's a little more. There are 2 ways of doing things. There's the wise woman method, which I love that name. It's the best. Yeah. And that's essentially when you would harvest herbs and fill them up in the jar, and then just add the alcohol on top and shake it up every couple days, leave it in a dark place, and in a month you would strain it. And then there's also the other method, which is more scientific, where you use math to actually figure out the weight and density of the herbs and the extraction methods and how to get the most medicine out of the plant material. So, but yeah, what you're talking about is totally a tincture, what you made. It's just, for me, I don't heat up the herbs I'm using.
Right. Actually, I made 2 different tinctures. I made one that I did not decarboxylate. Is that the word?
Decarboxylate.
I always just call it decarbing because for that very reason, I don't remember the whole word. I did one that was raw, and I did that one for CBD, and I did one that was roasted, decarboxylated. Did I say it right that time?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. And I used that one for medicinal reasons, but also euphoric reasons.
Yeah. And so talking about the CBD, I'm really excited. So I'm going to be partnering with some friends of mine who have a hemp farm here because even though cannabis, the female plant, is not legal, hemp is here in North Carolina. And we are going to be collaborating, and I'm going to be adding some CBD buds into my herbal smoking blends.
Nice.
So that's a new product I'm really excited about working on.
That's really cool. Dude, you are so cool. I'm just thinking about how over the years, even though I'm not going to say I've been watching your progress, but I'm aware of your path. I'm aware of, what was going on in your world during the second 3 days of light, in relationships that you were in, and how you're shifting. And I remember when we first talked about doing the tea lounge at 3DL. Now, had you done it before that?
The first time the tea lounge ever came into existence was actually for the solar eclipse that happened. When was that? Was that in 2017? In August of 2017 was that big solar eclipse? That was like during the Oregon eclipse gathering happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. So some folks on the East Coast said, well, we want to do an eclipse gathering for the East Coast because everyone's out in Oregon. We can't all be there. So a friend of mine hit me up and she said, hey, like, will you vend, just the plants and the herbal products? Because on top of making herbal products, we also have a native and medicinal plant nursery, which maybe I can touch on at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she contacted me and said, hey, can you do this? And would you also serve drinks, which we hadn't done before. We only just sold our tea jars to people to take home. And she said, will you set up a lounge? And I hadn't done it before, but I felt really enthusiastic and excited about it and was like, yeah, I'll do it. Let's do this. We did it. And it was such a success that we pretty much just started applying to festivals the next year. So starting in 2018, and we just never stopped.
That's so cool. You know, that's what inspires me about you is how every step of the way it's been bigger and better. Some of the spaces you create are so inviting and so welcoming and healing. Just coming into your space is
Thank
healing.
you.
It's really cool. And I know it's not just you. I know that you have incredible supporting partner in Tony. How did you guys meet and how did you decide to start working together?
Yeah, so Tony and I met when I was on tour with iStar, actually. We were playing at a festival in West Virginia called Culture Fest, which maybe you remember
I
Lori and
remember,
Robert from
yep,
Option 22.
option
Yeah,
22.
yeah,
Yes. I love those
yeah,
guys.
yeah. And at the time, I was living out of my van, just traveling around with iStar on tour. Tony and I met, and it was like the second we met, we just knew we were supposed to be doing something really big together, which was really cool. And he tells the story of when we met, and I said, "Hey, you want to see my traveling apothecary in my van?" And he tells people that's how I lured him in.
Wow. Wow. That and that's really cool because that speaks to the kind of relationship. It's like what it's rooted in. It's beautiful. It's like instantly there's multi-level connection.
So much so. And so, not long after we met, I decided to move to West Virginia, where he has a family farm. As soon as I moved there with him, we basically decided, we have to do something to get by and to make it in life. And we started this business together. And Tony's focus is really on growing plants. He is
Okay.
a huge, huge, huge advocate for native plants and for ecological restoration with native plants. And so his part of what we do is growing. And he, at this point, now has an amazing, beautiful nursery here in Mars Hill where we live. And
A
he
professional nursery or one that you use personally?
no, it's a certified nursery. Our plants are for sale. People can make appointments and come see what we have.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. It's been a long time coming. He's worked so hard to get to this point. I'm really, really proud of him. We finally had the USDA guy come out and check everything out and get certified. So
That is so cool.
yeah, it's really great.
How does somebody find out more information?
His nursery is called Dancing Nettle Nursery, and he's actually working on a Facebook page for it this week. So that'll be up soon.
Very cool. Dancing Nettle.
Dancing Nettle
That's
Nursery.
awesome.
Yeah.
Very good.
So yeah, we just the moment we met, we were so just on the same page with what we wanted to be doing. We knew we wanted to live sustainably. We knew that we wanted to be health conscious, and we also knew we wanted to teach people. It's a really big part of what we do. We're not just doing this for ourselves. We want to get this medicine out to the people. We want to teach people that the things in their backyards are valuable. And especially Tony coming from West Virginia, where the land has been so abused, and a part of that is because the people don't realize the value in the forests in their backyard, in the water in their yard. It's a huge mission of ours to help people remember. And I say remember because we're not teaching people things that they didn't know. We all know this. We all know how valuable the earth is, that we're all connected to it, that we need it. We just have to help people remember. And so that's a really big part of what our mission is.
That's very cool. That's where the idea of campaigns come in. Information around a specific item, topic, or concern, and sharing that information with as many people as possible, which is what you're doing when you're going out into these festivals, when you're doing these podcasts, you're sharing this information. So it's happening right now in real life, and it's fantastic. So you've done all this work. You have your website going, you're filling orders for all these amazing products on your website. So what I'm really looking forward to is that CBD smoke blend you're talking about. Now, I imagine it's probably going to be about 90 days for you to test it and put it on the website.
Yeah, I would say look around that time frame to see it up.
Very good. And all these things that we were mentioning, these teas for the lavender and the milky oats and all that stuff, those are in blends for products you have on your website right now?
A few of them, yeah. So
Okay.
the list that we had listed earlier about a lot of anti-anxiety herbs, a lot of those can be found in my Rest Easy tea, which is one of my biggest sellers.
Okay.
Wonderful to take if you're just feeling really stressed out, you need to just chill, great before bed, hence its name.
Right.
So that's really fantastic. And along with that, I have all sorts of other products, including an herbal bath soak. I have the burning wands you had talked about, which are my alternative sage wands that I've created from hand harvested herbs on our property. I have salves. So I have an all-purpose salve, a cayenne lemongrass muscle rub, a black drawing salve, and then my biggest seller right now are my hand sanitizer sprays, which,
Nice.
as you can imagine, have been pretty popular.
Very good. What are you making the hand sanitizers from?
So the hand sanitizers, I'm using a high-grade alcohol and different blends of essential oils that are antibacterial and antiviral. And then there's vegetable glycerin, which kind of holds it all together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Simple.
Super
Simple but
simple,
effective.
but very effective.
Right.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Dude, you're an amazing vocalist. So I want to switch gears real quick. Tell me about how you got into singing and what inspires you and who your influences are musically.
Well, my mom said I sang before I talked. So
Nice.
so I don't, how did I get into singing? I've been singing my whole life. I'm grateful that I had a family who encouraged it. And so I was in singing lessons when I was 5 and was actually in the Georgia Regional Girls Choir when I was a teenager and got to do things like sing the national anthem at the Braves games in Atlanta.
Nice, dude. How cool is that?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And, it's always been a huge part of my life.
Wait, how old were you when you did that?
I was probably between the ages of 12 and 13.
Were you just scared shitless, or were you like, how did that feel? You get out there in front of all those people.
Well, we sang in a group, to be fair.
Right.
I didn't sing just myself.
But
That would
still,
be terrifying.
you're in front of thousands of people.
Yeah, but when you sing with a group, and this is so much why I am a harmony vocalist,
Okay.
because you're singing with other people, but you meld into this oneness that it's so hard to explain with words. It's like
that's beautiful. It's you meld into a oneness. That's like wonderful.
Yeah.
I love like when I'm at church, when I go to church, which every once in a while I'll go to church. I love solo performers, but I feel the choir.
Yeah, it's so powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and oh, gosh, I just love harmonies. I'm just like such a harmony junkie. I just love them so much. They make me so happy. You were asking me about who, some of my biggest influences are musically, and the number one group that comes to mind are Rising Appalachia.
Very
Those
good.
sisters have just inspired me so much. And not only with their music, but also just who they are. They're activists, they're herbalists. They're amazing. They're so powerful. And
Very powerful.
I'm very inspired by them.
There's a lot of artists that I can listen to, and there's at least 1 or 2 tracks that I don't like on their whole album. And every single thing I've heard from Rising Appalachia, I was first introduced to them through Human Experiences Mix,
Right.
A while ago. Then that just turned me on to them. But I've never heard a song that I don't feel or like. It's beautiful. It's good. It's powerful.
It is. Yeah, there's some powerhouses for sure. And clearly my favorite song is Medicine, because of course.
Right. So what are some goals you have for the near future? Like you have all this time, you're working on your website, you're creating new products. What are some short-term professional, what about some professional goals and some personal goals?
Yeah, professional goals. I've had so much time, which has been a blessing because first off, I've been able to make my garden like way bigger than I've ever been able to make it before, which is really exciting for me because my number one goal for my business is to grow and harvest 100% of the herbs that I use in my products. And that's a really big feat because I use a lot of herbs.
Okay.
I'm really close, actually. It's exciting to know that I grew a giant patch of milky oats and I have a giant patch of calendula outside right now. among a bunch of other things. It's a lot of work, daily harvesting and daily processing to get to this place. So that's a huge thing that I'm working on. On top of that, we have the family farm up in West Virginia. We have 51 acres up there to play with. And the vision is to turn a part of it into a medicinal herb farm so that we can grow large swaths of things like echinacea, lavender. And I'm really excited for what that's going to turn into.
That's so cool. You're so living the dream. You realize that, right? You ever pinch yourself? Be like, hey, wait a minute.
I do. Yeah. Sometimes it's like, wow, I feel really blessed. I think about all the people who have been stuck in apartments during this time, and I really feel for them. And yeah, I can't imagine. It's a good life. It's not always easy. It's definitely not easy having a small business right now, but just getting to be outside in my garden every day and to be harvesting things and be like, wow, this is what I do for a living is really exciting.
What are some of the small choices that you look back, or maybe big choices, looking back in the last 10 years of your life? What are some of the big choices that you have made that help put you in the situation you're in? I guess from the perspective of someone who's listening and is inspired and wants to get into either herbalism or whatever it is their vision is. Doesn't have to be herbalism. What were some of the things that you did that kept you on track during this process?
Yeah, so that's a big question. I feel really excited to answer it, though. It's going to be different for everyone, right? I'm not going to tell everyone to move to Western North Carolina because that might not be everyone's calling.
Right.
But for me, I think the biggest thing was trusting. I knew I needed to be somewhere. I knew when I lived in Atlanta that the city life was no longer serving me. And I knew that I needed to do something different. I moved to Asheville at the ripe age of 18, knowing no one, didn't even have a car. I didn't have a plan. My family thought I was insane. And I was called. I was called to these mountains. So for someone listening who's like, what do you do? Follow your heart. What do you love? What really brings you passion? And then follow that trail, because that's what I did. I always have loved nature. I was blessed enough, even though I grew up in the suburbs outside of Atlanta, to have the Chattahoochee River in my backyard. And I really feel like those woods changed my life. They allowed me to connect to nature. And because of it, I was always very, very, very connected to the outdoors and to plants and to the water. And so when I became an adult, I wanted to be closer to that because I knew that that's what brought me peace and happiness. And I knew that I had a passion. And, I really didn't even get into herbalism until I was 23. So it took me a few years to figure out what I was doing here. But that's a big one. Trust. Just follow your path and then just trust. A lot of the big things that I've done in my life have really come with me jumping into the wind without knowing what's going to happen next. While I'm not saying like everyone should just like throw away everything they own and like go travel or do something crazy and wild, maybe you don't need to do that. But for me, it was so much about just having this knowingness inside of me and following my intuition.
Very good. Was once you discovered herbalism, was it bam, yes, that's what it is? Or was it more like wading into the waters?
It was definitely a wading into the waters. I started with just making herbal products for myself, playing around with that, and, started a little apothecary in the community house I lived in at the time. Then I started making products with my friends, and then I started giving them as gifts for Christmas or for birthdays. It kind of grew from there, people started really being like, oh, like, I really, really, really loved that lotion you made me last year. Can you make me more? And from there, it became something that I spread out among more people.
That's awesome. So it's definitely, it was organic. It wasn't like you forced yourself into it. There's a lot going on right now. COVID's tripping people up, the uprising, the anxiety that society is feeling. I'm not trying to paint a really scary story here, but I'm noticing that there's a lot of positive stories coming out of this. Twists, silver lining, things that People are, it's like a pivot point for society, where we get to check ourselves and really, you know, the purpose of the 2020 vision gathering that I was going to put on this year, it's fucking mind-blowing, Ashe, because check it out. The whole purpose was day one was going to be about pause and reflection. Day two was going to be about personal inventory. And day three was about launching into the new world that we want to create for ourselves. That was the theme for the 2020 Vision Gathering. And all the workshops on day one, day two, day three, we're going to be in accordance to that model. Yeah. And that, we don't have to be at a festival for that, because it's happening in our life right now. We have to stop and we have to say, wow, what kind of choices are we making? You know, and I guarantee that all these people on the extreme right wing, the extreme left wing, they're both evaluating their perspectives. They still might be, you know, staunch supporters of this ideal or that ideal, but I feel like that's starting to wither away. And I think people are starting to, there's no doubt the media is twisted. There's no doubt that pharma's twisted. I mean, every single day, the headlines are on both MSM and alternative media is, it's very clear. Politicians are doing, I think, more clear than ever, some funky shit. The big pharma is doing funky stuff. Agriculture is doing funky stuff. And so, not to go off on a weird tangent, there's also this really cool sense of community now. The separation between ourselves and that entity is one of the biggest silver linings that I see. It's becoming very clear. So what are some of the silver linings that you feel are happening in your life? Do you see silver linings in any of this right now?
I do. And I mean, of course, I absolutely agree with everything you just said, as far as just how this world was so fast paced and everyone was go, go, go. And now they've been forced to slow down. Not only does that stop people dead in their tracks and make them really have to reevaluate the way they've been living their lives, but it's also forced them to actually look within themselves and do a little bit of personal exploring. Like, what do I really love to do? Do I love, you know, being on my feet 12 hours a day as a waitress? Like, do I love sitting at a computer desk from 9 to 5? And that's been really amazing and beautiful to see. Within myself and my own life, the amount of people that have reached out to me and said, hey, I'm starting a garden for the first time. Where do I start? Nice. Has been so amazing and so inspiring. And I think people are really starting to realize what's important when it comes to self-reliance. I think that there was a huge scare. You know, we weren't sure if grocery stores were going to shut down. We weren't sure for a second how long we were going to be stuck in our houses. And I think people really were like, oh my God, I need to start growing food. I need to make sure I have clean water. You know, I need to make sure that like I have these things. For me, it was, I need to make sure I have all the medicines. You know, I started making all these lung nourishing tinctures as soon as this happened, because I was like, people might need this. So it's been so inspiring to just see how many more people who maybe have never done this before are starting to wade in the water. People who are starting to get into natural health and healing are saying, hey, what herbs can I use for this tea if something goes down? Or how can I keep my immune system in shape?
Nice. How can they keep their immune system in shape?
There's all sorts of stuff you can do. I really appreciated that you talked earlier about taking vitamin D. I think that's really important. And also vitamin C right now is a really big thing. There's a lot of research being done about high dosing on vitamin C, especially if you're feeling unwell, that I really urge people to look into. There's been some amazing results with that. As far as herbs, oh man, there's a lot of immune boosting herbs. I really love medicinal mushrooms so much. I love like chaga and reishi mushrooms, turkey tail. Right now I'm taking the Paul Stamets like Myco Balance immune boosting medicinal mushroom powder, and that's been really great for me personally. I love elderberry. I know that there's been a lot of stuff going around lately with this whole COVID thing. People are saying, oh, elderberry is good for you. Elderberry is not good for you. And I've been doing a lot of personal research about this. Have you heard about this? About the elderberry thing?
I bought some elderberry concentrate 2 weeks ago. And it just so happened to be buy one, get one free. And it's, according to the bottle, consciously harvested and a good product, and it's just concentrated elderberry syrup. I've been doing 1 tablespoon a day.
Yeah. I love elderberry. I make an elderberry elixir with spiral root sanctuary and with a lot of other immune boosting herbs in it. But there was this thing going around the internet. That's why I was asking if you had heard about it, about elderberry not being good for coronavirus, saying that it could start a cytokine storm.
A cytokine storm?
Yeah, we'd have to do some research about what that actually means. It's basically like with coronavirus, your body starts to attack itself, and the cytokine storm, it's something about the cells like not recognizing that they're healing, and they're like your body attacks itself essentially is what it's saying. But my whole point of this, I guess, is I've done a lot of research, and from listening to a lot of really renowned herbalists like Seven Song, they're saying you would have to take so much elderberry for it to be a problem that there's really no point in worrying.
Right.
I'm not a doctor, so I'm not trying to one way or another. But I will say I'm taking elderberry daily because it's good for your immune system, and I know that. Yeah.
Just two points on that. I live with somebody who has MS, and we researched, and so what MS is it's exactly that. It's your body's immune system is fighting your body, and so any type of immune booster will fuck her up,
right?
Will mess her up. Any kind of immune booster is not good for her. So we looked it up, and she cannot take the elderberry.
I get that, yeah.
So I imagine that that's the same thing that they're worried about in regular people, that it's going to trigger our immune system. And maybe that's what it does. Maybe it triggers the immune system, and then when it doesn't need to be triggered. The way that I feel about it personally is like, if a person has been diagnosed with coronavirus, maybe don't take elderberry just in case, because there's not enough research. But if you're well and you want to keep your immune system just boosted, hell yeah, take elderberry. Okay, so after you're diagnosed, talk to your doctor about continuing elderberry. But until you do, you should probably stop. But before you're diagnosed, taking the elderberry might help prevent getting the corona in the first place.
That's how I feel personally. Right. And I'm not a doctor, but that's what I'm personally doing for myself. I'm taking elderberry on a daily basis.
Right.
And I feel great. So I don't know, you know. Other immune boosting herbs, just to go back, because you had asked a few, lemon balm is an antiviral. I love lemon balm. I've got a lemon balm glycerate going right now that I'm really excited about.
Nice. What is a glycerate?
So that is when it's like a tincture. So it's the same thing, but you use vegetable glycerin instead of alcohol. And glycerates are fantastic for people who maybe are recovering addicts and can't take alcohol, or for children. So I really love them. They're gentle. It's also sweet. It's like it's vegetable sugars essentially, but it doesn't like up your glycemic index. It's not like cane sugar. So it's really great as a tincture alternative, and it tastes amazing. Lemon balm is so delicious already. So
I love Thai food, and lemon balm's good in Thai food. A lot of Thai foods, a lot of Asian. I love Asian food.
Yeah, so I think you mean lemongrass though.
I am thinking about lemongrass. Yeah. Holy smokes. Well, that'd be weird. Lemon balm. Put some of that lemon balm in that soup, please.
It probably work too. It like tastes very similar.
They smell similar, right? The lemon balm and the lemongrass smell the same.
They do.
Lemon balm is a completely separate plant, though.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good. See, I'm learning so much already.
Yep. And just to throw it out there, both of those herbs in my products. I have a Tulsi lemongrass tea, which I love to take after dinner as a digestive. Because lemongrass, that's why they put it in Asian food, in Thai food, is because it's wonderful for helping digestion.
Okay.
So, yeah, got that. And then the lemon balm I have in my Rest Easy, because it's also really relaxing.
I understand that everything is probably shifted considerably for you as far as your professional goals from, say, 5 months ago to where they're at right now. And, you know, that's the key to being successful, because a lot of people, I'm sure, are not only not progressing their business, but I'm sure a lot of people have given up. I know there's been moments where I felt kind of like giving up, you know, not necessarily giving up, but just shutting down for a minute. what are some of the ways that you've adapted your plans for your business? And
Yeah, well, obviously focusing on my online presence, which is so hard for me because I just want to be in my garden. I don't want to be online doing stuff,
Right.
but that's been really good. And also, I'm still a little bit able to focus on the goals I had this winter before all this went down, which my biggest goal for the winter moving into this year was to get into more shops, to get my products into more stores. Right now I'm in 15. Sorry. All right. Try again.
No, that's good. I've been doing this the whole time. You've been smooth and silk. I've been like, so you're due for one.
Sweet. Right now I'm in 15 shops across Appalachia, in between North Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, and West Virginia. And so I'm still working on getting into more stores, which is really exciting for me to get my products out there to places that I'm not. Most of the time in the summer, I'm at a festival,
right,
talking about my products and talking to people about plants and having them purchase them. And it's nice to be able to just drop things off and have someone else do that for me. So that's a big goal.
And you get to spend a whole year in product development, which is really cool.
I do. Yeah. Right now I've been working my newest product other than the CBD smoking blend, which is a new thing I had never talked about before this podcast. But my other new product is an herbal bug spray.
What?
Yeah. It's good. I'm excited. I've had a little bottle, like a little prototype, and I've been taking it around anytime I go somewhere around people outdoors, and I'm like, hey, try this out. Let me know how you feel. And I've gotten positive feedback so far. So that's really good.
That's really cool. So it's like an herbal bug off.
Yeah. Cool. It's going to have a bunch of essential oils that keep bugs away, but I'm also tincturing some herbs in witch hazel and also in alcohol to keep the bugs away as well.
Okay, very cool. One of the silver linings for me personally was this podcast is something that I've been dreaming about doing since Emergence Earth first entered into my consciousness in 2011. I've practiced recording with my phone and I've done interviews with people. During this coronavirus pandemic or whatever it is, quarantine, we'll just call it quarantine. During this quarantine time, I jumped. I just took a jump. I was sitting there. I'm like, okay, I have this extra money now. I'm not doing anything to spend it. What can I do? So I upgraded the Emergence Creative Space website and I spent $1,000 on creating this podcast. So I invested in myself, which was big because I haven't invested in myself in a long time. Other than my basic needs like phone and rent and food, every penny that I make goes to the community in one way or another, whether it's creating events or paying off debts that have occurred because of these events and so I haven't bought myself anything in a long time. And so, and here's what's up. I even had to convince myself that I'm not convince myself because it's true. I had to come from the perspective of, even though I really wanted it personally, I had to convince myself that I'm doing it because the community is going to benefit. It's like this weird thing, but the long and short of it is that I was able to create this podcast and it feels good. It feels natural. And I bought 3 headsets and I bought 3 different kinds of mixers and I had to upgrade and I bought this computer and I'm feeling really good. I'm feeling uncomfortable still with the sound of my, like talking so much. The more I do it, the easier it is. And the more it feels like it's coming from here. The first few that I did, I felt like I was thinking a lot. And this one, even though I'm not, which probably explains the pauses that I've had, of just sitting there, because when I'm thinking, I can always go, okay, there's 1, there's 2, there's 3. But when you're talking from your feelings, it's like, for me anyhow, I express myself and then when it's done, it's done. There's no more expressing. And then I pause and that's when thinking comes in. I'm like, okay, well, what can I talk about now?
And what a great way to connect right now, where people are having such a hard time connecting, to be able to offer these podcasts and really reach out to people and get to have real conversations about real things is so important right now. It's so necessary.
Very good. Yes, indeed. What did you have for lunch?
I had a smoothie. I'm also on the smoothie kick. Love smoothies.
Okay, cool. I've been doing a lot of smoothies lately as well. What kind of smoothie did you have? What went into the smoothie?
let's see, it was banana, blackberries from our backyard, blueberries, strawberries, and then a whole bunch of powders. Maca, Eleuthero, the Paul Stamets Myco formula that I was talking about earlier, cacao powder, because I love cacao.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Good
very
stuff.
good. That sounds super good.
Yeah,
Sounds
it's pretty dang.
My smoothies are usually almond or coconut milk, a powder. I usually do a protein powder and a super greens powder with frozen strawberry or frozen berries of any variety. Usually the blueberry, strawberry, raspberry blend, or maybe it's blackberry. Sometimes I'll throw an avocado in there. Sometimes I'll throw a scoop of peanut butter.
Yep.
Sometimes I'll chop up a bunch of spinach or kale and I'll throw that in there. Bananas almost every single time, and I don't think I've ever made two smoothies that taste the same.
I'm in the same boat. Yeah, normally I add almond milk. I was out today.
Right.
But I'll usually throw some kale or a carrot or like, yeah, it's always different. It's great. It's like, and if I really like it, I try to remember, but
I do. I don't know how you feel about dairy. A lot of people are like, dairy. And I'm kind of getting there myself, but a lot of times I will add either a yogurt or kefir to my smoothies.
Nice. Yeah. I'm mildly lactose intolerant, so I have to stay away from
yikes.
myself. But...
Right. Tastes good, but nah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, as we we just have a few more minutes here. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you are you're highly sought after, and that you have you're on the Presidential Herbalism Medical Board. Is that correct?
Oh God, no, definitely.
All right, sorry. I just wanted to mess. I was just messing about. All right. Yeah. So we're going to be wrapping this up here, Ashe. I really appreciate the time that you have shared with us. And I'd like to know if there's anything that I haven't covered, that we haven't covered yet, that you would like to share with the listener.
The thing I really want to give to listeners as a little piece of just information that's been really important for my life and something that I've learned is just becoming as self-sufficient as possible. You know, I really suggest to all people, even if you live in a city, learn to grow your own food. You know, learn to cook, learn to sew, learn to make and build things. I mean, these are skills that all of our grandparents surely knew how to do, and it's been lost in a single generation. And I feel like we really need to take it back. We're not separate from nature, and we need to remember this. The sooner we can begin to heal ourselves and the earth, I feel like society is going to heal, and it's going to help generations to come. You know, for me personally, learning to garden has been one of the most healing experiences I've done. And it's helped me remember that humans are just a part of the cycle, and we're powerful, and we can actually help the cycle and support it by doing our part. And, you know, it doesn't have to be some crazy over-the-top venture. Like, don't expect to know how to grow an epic garden in 1 year. It takes so much trial and error. I mean, I have had so many plants die on me, but it's a part of the process, you know? Like, you don't just start out and have this beautiful epic garden. You just start with one tomato plant and research, look into it, figure out how to keep this one plant alive. And from there, you can plant a big, beautiful garden eventually over time. And the last thing I really want to say is to remember to ask for guidance and for help. You know, don't be too proud to admit when you don't know something. I feel like if I never asked questions or accepted when I didn't know something, I wouldn't be where I am today. I feel like I've learned more from the mistakes I made than any success I ever had. The fact that we all make mistakes is such a beautiful part of the process. How do we learn otherwise? You know, it's so important.
Right.
So just remember, like, ask for help, invest in yourself. If you want to know more, get a book on it, take a class. Now we have YouTube. You can find literally anything you want to know on YouTube, it feels like. That's really the biggest thing I want to let people know is just get back to your roots, get back to the earth, and put your hands in the dirt, see how it feels. I feel like everybody's going to find that it brings them a lot more peace.
Yes. Fantastic. That I'm inspired. I am ready. Where's the dirt? Where's the plants?
Very good.
Ashe, thank you so much for being here. This is fantastic. I feel like I just sat through a workshop on medicinal healing and herbalism. I feel blessed.
I love blah, 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 blah.
Yep. That's what happens sometimes.
All right.
Sometimes you just go.
We've been here a long time, man. We've been here a long time. Scott, thank you so much for having me. It's been really fantastic to get to talk about the things I'm really passionate about, and it's just been really great having conversation with you. So I look forward to coming back in the future.
Thank you so much. Very good. And that is a wrap.
All right, we did it.
Thanks so much for checking out this episode of Portals Podcast. Be sure to check out Ashay's website, spiralrootssanctuary.com. Also, I'd like to invite you to stop by the emergencecreativespace.com website. There you'll find the Indescript magazine, the community directory, and the Emergence Creative Space Marketplace. If you're interested in supporting Portals Podcast, please take a look at patreon.com/Emergence Creative Space. All right, thank you so much. Hope you got inspired.